2 years after owning my Steam Deck, do I still think it's worth buying in 2026? If you asked me in early 2025, it would have been an easy yes. But recently, it's still a yes, but with a lot of buts. Nah, not that kind of buts. Jokes aside, it's crazy how we went from a time where we barely had any handhelds available in 2017, then, you know, the Nintendo Switch came out, and now we have so many options that it's very difficult to know which one to choose, and the Steam Deck is a great contender among all the handhelds that are available in the market. I, for one, love what I like to call bed gaming, which is pretty much chilling after a long day of being at my desk and finally being able to cozy up in my bed, or even this really sick recliner chair that I bought, putting a show on my TV, and being able to cozy up with the Steam Deck, play some fun games, just relaxing and not being confined to my flippin' desk, because I know a lot of y'all relate with me. Apparently, a lot of you have chronic problems, like I have chronic pain. Being sat on this desk all the time is just not it for me. So the Steam Deck, for the most part, has been a game changer. So I feel like at this point, I have a really good experience with it, because you know what? I just ordered a Lenovo Legion Go Z2 Extreme because again, I love the Steam Deck, but I'm having some issues. Now, of course, the biggest selling point for the Steam Deck is its price point. You can get the LCD model for £350, or you can go with the OLED version, which I personally recommend, with the starting price point of £480. You're gonna get 512 gigs of storage, as well as a carrying case, a power supply, and a bigger screen compared to the LCD version. Funny story, I actually ordered the original version, and then Valve came out with the OLED, so I literally had to rush to Valve, be like, oh my god, please, I want the new one, I don't want this one. And they were like, yeah, don't worry, we can send it back, we'll refund it for you, and then you can buy the new one. And I'm so thankful that they didn't make a fuss about it. Now, of course, you can also take things a step further and go with the £570 version. This one is gonna come with 1 TB of storage, a bit of a different carrying case, and an anti-glare etched glass, which to me, they don't really make much of a difference. I still got an SD card, and I'm really happy with my Steam Deck, and I didn't have to pay that much more for it. And then I also did end up buying, of course, a protective glass, which is glossy, so I don't think that matte glass would have done any difference for me. And I've also seen a lot of people compare both of them, and they said, you know what, the matte version actually mattifies the vibrancy of the OLED screen, so they actually recommend going with the glossy screen, which is the cheaper version instead. Now, as I mentioned, you're gonna get a case with your Steam Deck, but I personally don't like it. I think it's too big and chunky, so instead, I have been using this one. This one is from TomTalk. It's a hard shell. It's really good. You open it up, and you can just put your Steam Deck, close it up, and it's safe. I can safely put it next to me where I play, and don't have to worry about Squish, you know, knocking it over or anything like that. Now, I'm also a massive fan of course, the Nintendo Switch 2, and if you'd like me to, I can make a video comparing both of them and my experience with both so far. But if you want some quick notes as to what is the difference between both of them, and then later on I will talk about the Legion Lenovo when I get that. I just can't cover it right now because I don't really know much about it from my own experience. But let me quickly show you what the differences are going to be. Of course, the first thing is going to be the price point. People forget that the Nintendo Switch does come with the dock. It also comes with the extra controller support, for lack of a better term, and a kickstand as well, which makes things more flexible. Whereas the Steam Deck, you're gonna have to buy your docking station, and you're gonna have to probably buy an extra either keyboard and mouse or controller if you want to use it in a tabletop mode. Another difference is going to be performance. The Steam Deck is still performing a lot better than the Nintendo Switch 2, in my opinion and my own experience. And the third difference is going to be the exclusive IPs that the Nintendo Switch has because of Nintendo, which you're probably not going to be able to get on your Steam Deck unless you're going to be supporting emulators. Now, I do not support emulators. If you are going to buy games that are new, please support the devs, even if you are not okay with Nintendo. I mean, do whatever you want, but for me, if you talk about it and you're like, oh, I'm emulating Nintendo games, you probably see that you've been getting banned from the channel, because I do not support emulating and pirating new games that the developers should be supported, even if you don't agree with a lot of what, you know, Nintendo has been doing recently, because it's not the developer's fault, it's Nintendo's fault. But if you're interested in games that you pretty much cannot buy anymore, there's no way to get them unless you sell a kidney and all of that, then, you know, go ahead and do whatever you want. But yeah, the Steam Deck is a great place to do that. The Steam Deck can run games that actually struggle on the original Switch, and they still struggle on the Switch too. So for example, Disney Dreamlight Valley, oh my goodness, that game is still running like crap on the Switch too, but it runs pretty well on the Steam Deck with a few hiccups that I'll touch on in a little bit. We can also talk about The Witcher 3. While it's still amazing that it runs on the Nintendo Switch, I think that it came with a lot of graphical sacrifices, which you don't really have to sacrifice that much for you to play on the Steam Deck. Of course, it's always gonna be best to play on PC, but I think you can still get away with preserving a little bit of Witcher's beauty if you play on the Steam Deck. I also like that the Steam store page lets you know if a game is going to be compatible with the deck, and if you've already bought games, you can check if they're going to run great on deck. However, there's also this mod that I really like to use, which adds the plugin of ProtonDB. So this one tells you how well a game is going to run, what adjustments it might need if you need to run it properly, and even tells you what Proton to download and how to use it. I already filmed an in-depth video about things that you're probably doing wrong with your Steam Deck, or things that you didn't even know that you can do. So it's pretty much a really solid guide for you to use your Steam Deck. So make sure you're subscribed if you want to watch that, because I will teach you about ProtonDB, about modding your Steam Deck and all of that, which is a whole another world of its own. Now, one thing that I don't see a lot of people mention is how great and seamless cloud saves are on the Steam Deck. So again, if you're like me, maybe you're a content creator and you review games, or maybe sometimes you're able to play on your PC or your laptop, and then you just want to play in handheld mode, cloud saves are so easy to connect, and then you can just pick up your Steam Deck and continue playing your game without having to worry about much other than making sure that you are online on both, you know, PC when you stop playing, or on Steam Deck, so that you can catch up with your saves. And there's also a mod, again, I could tell you about it in the guide, where you can make sure that Steam is counting how many hours you've played, even if you are offline using your Steam Deck. Now, I've already mentioned how beautiful the OLED screen is. Don't get me wrong, I love the LCD on my Switch. I think it's actually really good. It's very pretty, but I also still appreciate the extra pop of color on the Steam Deck OLED. And if you really care about battery life, you're gonna have around 8 to 12 hours, but it can also be much less depending on what you're playing, how heavy it is, what kind of settings you're using. So I think it's a bit of a variable, but that's never been an issue for me because I'm always playing next to a power supply, so I never really need to worry about the battery life. Now, the Steam OS is another amazing thing about the Steam Deck. It basically means that everything is plug and play. You access your Steam library games and you just play them on the go. But that doesn't mean that you can't get other things. You can actually go to your desktop mode and get things like games from the Epic Game Store, or even have YouTube or Chrome or whatever, like non-Steam apps, be in the Steam library where you can just launch them right away. And this gets us to the incredible and massive world of games that we have right under our fingertips with the Steam Deck. I still cannot believe, like, my library is flippin' massive. PC gaming is really cheap. And you know, with websites and bundles like Fanatical and Humble Bundle, the seasonal sales on Steam itself, as well as Epic Game Store pretty much giving a lot of free games all the damn time, growing your library here is gonna be a lot easier than growing it on the Switch. However, the Switch is going to give you access to physical games if that's something that you really care about and you want to have a physical collection. But of course, we also have the issue of games now that are coming with, like, it's just a game card, but the game is not really there. We've talked about it in other videos, and you know, I don't support these. And yes, first-party games, pretty much, they do go on sale, but they're never gonna be as deep of a sale as a, let's say, AAA game that's on Steam. I genuinely haven't found, like, I don't know. You get Witcher 3 for, let's say, £6. I don't think you're ever gonna find Mario Kart World for £6. And with this access to so many 1.0 releases, let's say, you also have access to early access games, because devs these days realize that there is a big consumer market that loves the Steam Deck, and they're actually prioritizing optimizing games for the Steam Deck even when their game is in early access. And we can't forget that we can fully customize the Steam Deck using software like Decky Loader. This is how I have my cyberpunk-esque theme, which is crazy because it comes with Animal Crossing sound effects. And then I have quirky, anime launch animations that start when I open up the Steam Deck.
Hi.
And I'm still amazed at how easily I adjusted to the ergonomics of the Steam Deck. That was one of the reasons why I waited so long to buy it, because I was like, what do you mean the buttons are up here? Like, this is weird, because we're always used to, the Switch, it's like one up, one down with your Xbox controller, PlayStation controller. It's never like this, and I was worried that my fingers are gonna get cramped. However, they never did. It's really easy to get used to, but the ergonomic does come with a con, which I'm gonna touch on in a second. And yes, you do have these back buttons that you can use. I've attached this little bumper on them just to make it easier for me to grab it, and these come in handy if you play games like FPS games, but also you could just remap them to anything that you want to. And I feel like I need to praise Valve for how amazing they have been with keeping up with the Steam Deck, putting out patches pretty much all the freaking time. And this is how the Steam Deck just keeps updating, becoming better, and they take in feedback and they work on it. Now, of course, that means that you're gonna have to update your Steam Deck quite a lot. Sometimes you're gonna also have to update your Decky Loader as well as the plugins, but everything is so fast and smooth. I've never really had any problems. But I feel like this is the perfect time to start talking about the cons, why I'm actually gonna be getting the Lenovo Legion Go 2, what is my problem, and let's start with the fact that this machine is starting to get old and it's showing. Now, Valve has said, we're not gonna be working on a Steam Deck 2 anytime soon. There's speculation that the next one will come out around 2027, 2028, with amazing big games that are coming out, and the type of games that I love, like RPGs. We've got Dawnwalker coming soon, we've got Crimson Desert, also that new Star Wars game, and many more. I just can't think about anything right now specifically because there's so many of them coming out. I don't think the Steam Deck is gonna be able to run them at all, I'm not gonna lie. And I've already been having problems with the Steam Deck itself. The first issue is the docking station. I've tried to dock the alters and play it so many times, and I just can't do it. I even put it on medium settings. It looks like mush and it keeps crashing. Probably it's a optimization problem, but that's not the only one. For example, Disney Dreamlight Valley. Yes, it looks better on the Steam Deck, but oh my god, does the Steam Deck get so flippin' hot, and the fans start to go crazy, and I see a lot of FPS drops that just make me feel sick. And I can go on and on about a lot of games that have been giving me trouble. Another thing is, when I talked about the ergonomics with the Steam Deck, it is a lot heavier than my Switch 2. Now, granted, when I play the Switch 2, I rarely play it, like this. I usually have to use this extra grip that really makes it easier for me because I can hold it this way and it's just better. But even with that, this is a lot lighter than the Steam Deck. And this is why if a game runs properly on the Switch 2, this is probably where I'm gonna play it, and I'm gonna stay away from the Steam Deck. But I'm always gonna have really good memories with the Steam Deck. I'm still gonna keep using it probably for cozy farming games, and then my RPGs, action adventures. These are gonna be the Legion Go 2 staple for me. But I still, really appreciate my time with games like Baldur's Gate 3, it ran amazing on the Steam Deck. I had the best time playing Rune Factory Guardians of Azuma. Also, before Fantasy Life came to the Switch 2, it ran incredibly and still does on the Steam Deck. I had a really fun time even playing Pirate Yakuza. I've played Diablo 4, Shin Megami Tensei 5. I played so many good games, so I feel like I've gotten my money's worth out of the Steam Deck. It's just time for me to slowly dabble into the next generation, But I truly can't deny how surprisingly good the Steam Deck is. It's capable of being so powerful for being such a tiny device, This begs the question, is it going to be worth it in 2026? I think it still is. Don't forget, there's a massive library of older games that we can play, and hopefully developers can keep optimizing more new games for the Steam Deck, but just the library alone, you still have a lot to play. But when it comes, again, as I said, to newer RPGs and open world games, I don't think the Steam Deck is going to be able to run them properly anymore. And if you want to learn how to make the best out of your Steam Deck, I'm pretty sure there are some things that you don't know about. Watch the guide next. If you don't see it yet, it's probably still in the making, only like 2-3 days to be out, but make sure to be on the lookout for that. I'll leave it for you in the pinned comment. Let me know if you have one, if you want to buy one, if you enjoy it, what are your thoughts? Thank you to my YouTube and Patreon bubblies who make videos like this possible. And a shout out goes to the games I mentioned, Jake Logan, Yugoslav, Stella, for going the extra mile. Until next time, stay bubbly.